Welcome to Reflections, the podcast that biblically encourages, equips, and empowers women for apostolic life and service. Here's your host, Dr. Cindy Miller.
The Bible says in 3 John 1:2, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. These words remind us that God's vision for our lives have never been fragmented. The spiritual, emotional, and physical health, that all matters to Him. And yet for so many women, for those of us listening and our friends, our family members, it feels like the search for our health has been hijacked. The dieting industry has become a $1 billion a year illusion, luring women with promises that too often end in disappointment and seldom produce lasting freedom or health. And women, unfortunately, we are drawn towards those glossy images and quick fixes, and not from vanity, but from discouragement, from cultural shame that's put on us, and sometimes just this hopelessness that seems to have us in its grip. But this endless cycle of dieting and regaining weight, it often breeds in us a desperation. And what begins as an answer or hope can very slowly, if we're not careful and mindful, it can give way to body dysmorphia, disordered eating patterns, and serious lifelong consequences for our health and overall well-being. So our focus today is on the topic, the body God gave you. Pleasing God, living free, feeling great, which just sounds so inviting to me right now. So welcome to all of our listeners, our viewers to Let's Talk. I'm so glad you're here. And before I introduce Liv, let me put your mind at ease about something. This is not a conversation about diets or numbers on a scale or giving you some kind of impossible lifestyle plan with unrealistic expectations you have no time or willpower to live up to. Today is about reclaiming your life in very simple, practical ways, and we're going to take these small steps to reach realistic goals for healing and health. And here today to help us, to give us wisdom and insight, is Olivia Hill from Liv Hill Nutrition. So I want to just tell you a little bit about this amazing woman. Liv is a faith-driven health coach. She's an author and a speaker who carries a deep passion for whole person healing. After losing 150 pounds naturally, she turned her personal transformation into a calling to help others heal their bodies, restore their relationship with food, and walk in confidence through healthy new habits. Liv is the author of 2 cookbooks, and I don't have one of them, but I'm going to work on getting that today, Liv. She believes health is a gift from God, and freedom is found when faith and action come together. Liv, I am so happy you're here. Welcome to Let's Talk.
Thank you. It is truly an honor and a joy, and I am so excited to be talking with your group of ladies and listeners today.
Oh, well, we're thrilled. I kind of got to know you through a mutual friend, and then we're working on a writing project together. Of course, I'm a follower on your Facebook page and love the work that you do. I'm just so sanctified, proud of what you're producing and how you're reaching and ministering to so many through your own journey. But for the viewer or the listener who does not know you, would you mind sharing a little bit about your own backstory, your journey into health? How did you get to being from I need to lose 150 pounds to here I am coaching others?
I know. It's been a journey. So first of all, as you said, let's everybody just take a collective exhale, all right? Let's all exhale. We're not going to talk about extremes and fads and things like that. And if you're listening to this and you've got any kind of curiosity, but then also mixed with some opposition, like, oh, no, she's going to step on my toes and read my mail. Girl, I've read my own mail over the years, so let's just exhale. Let's just talk together through these things and come into it with an open mind and an open heart. And this definitely could be a conversation that the Lord has ordained for you to listen to. So where I started in my journey is I am first generation apostolic. I came into the church through the school. So if you are running a school and you're feeling like, why in the world am I running this school? It's so much work. Know that that's how my soul was saved, and that's how I came in.
Oh, I
They
love that.
raised me from a wild teenager. I got lots of moms and dads in the church, and I never left. They never got rid of me. And so I've got 2 young girls now, and my husband's a praise and worship leader, and we've been married. We just celebrated 25 years. So um, with that, I came from a little bit of a traumatic background, and so food was a definite comfort for me, and I didn't recognize that. We didn't have social media, and we weren't talking about those things as openly as we are now. And so through the years, food was just a general comfort for me. And then it just really became a lot of my identity. I was the person who ordered the extra meals. I was the person to eat the leftovers. And so it really unknowingly became an identity that I was that person. And, you know, Liv's not going to sweat. I told my doctor one time, "You want me to sweat? I'm not doing that," you know? And so he said, "Well," he said, "sweating can be good for you." And I was like, "Says who?" So that's where we're
Right.
coming from. And so I had tried a couple of diets, and we are going to use the word diet. I think it's okay to talk
Mhm.
transparently about diet and things like that. Um, so I had tried some diets, but I wasn't a diet fanatic. At one point, I said, "You know what? In the new year, I'm going to eat vegetables only." That was my New Year's resolution, to get rid of some of the weight. And that lasted until New Year's evening. And then the next day I was like, "This is not going to work. This is
Right,
not going to
right.
work." So I didn't really have, I always like to say, I didn't have a Damascus Road experience. I didn't have a "this has got to change" experience. That wasn't what happened for me. Uh, I can't even say that this is when it happened. It wasn't a new year. I do know that. It was, "Hey, I think I'm going to try one more time with one more thing." And so I just started with a video on a DVD. And again, I didn't like to sweat. I didn't like to move, none of those things. And I put the video in for 5 minutes. And Dr. Miller, you would have thought that I ran a 5K. Like, I was like so proud of myself. And like, I
Yes.
came out of our spare bedroom from doing that and I wasn't even doing, I was laying on the ground and breathing. Like literally all I was doing was laying on the ground and breathing. And I came out, but I was like, I just did my workout. And I remember telling my husband, like, I just did my workout. And so I know we'll get into a lot more of the dichotomy of things, but that is where I truly started, I started taking my lunch to work. I swapped out buying lunch out, and I started taking my lunch and a 5-minute video every day. But there were days where I pitched a big old fit about doing that 5-minute video because it was
Mhm.
just too much work. So that's where it started. And then we'll get into it, but I did end up over time losing 150 pounds through small changes like that and through the help of the Lord. And here we are on the other side, 17 years later, have kept that weight off. I'm still serving the Lord and doing a little bit more than video now, but
A
that
little
was,
bit.
yeah, that was
I've seen the videos. I've seen the
that was the
reels.
genesis of it. That was the
Yeah.
genesis.
And
Mhm.
that's what our listeners and viewers, so we have to understand. It may not be some big, as you called it, Damascus Road experience, but man, just a day to day making some choices. So
Mhm.
I want to ask this question. Let's start right here. Why do you think so many of us, so many people out there, people who love God, active in church, doing ministry, love the Lord, are feeling discouraged or even disconnected around the topic about their own health?
I believe that a lot of the discouragement comes from under education, true education on what to do. We are inundated with information. You open up Instagram and you see, "Don't eat this." You open up Facebook and they say, "Yes, eat that, but don't eat this." And so there is just a barrage of information that we're all receiving and taking in, and we don't know where to start. And so we look for the flashy. We look for, "Oh, this looks good. Let's try this." And we don't have a foundation in place. And if we don't have a foundation in place, we start something that's unrealistic. And then that discouragement sets in because it's like, "Oh, I didn't meet this expectation that I had for myself. And this person on social media. And listen, I am A1 social media girl, so here I am, hypocritical on that, but I'm all over. I'm in your feed, but you got to keep your feed clean, and that's a
Yes.
whole different conversation. But you've got to manicure that feed. But you are setting up these expectations like a vegetable diet that are just unrealistic with your lifestyle, and that 2 days in, 3 days in, that discouragement comes in. And then you start telling yourself, I can't do anything right. I'm never going to lose this weight. And maybe it's not a weight thing. I'm never going to be healthy. I'm never going to have a good relationship with food. And you speak those things in because the initial jump into it is
Mhm.
on a shaky foundation. It's not a firm foundation.
Yeah, I agree. And then, we have these unexpecteds that come up in life.
Hmm.
So women have all kinds of body betrayals that begin to
Yeah.
happen to
Yeah.
us,
Yeah.
with
Oh,
our
yeah.
health. I started into menopause at 39.
Hmm.
No
Yeah.
idea what was going on, a thyroid dysfunction. We're undereducated, or we see so much we're over informed but undereducated, and we're overwhelmed by it all. And then we have, who do we believe when we Google, Dr. Google, and ask him about, his opinion on our health? Who do we believe? But I really do think it's not just laziness or
Mm-mm.
I don't care, because, we're talking about all of these things, whether it's needing to lose weight, but it's mobility issues. It's having the energy to get out of bed in the morning. It's having a call on your life from God, but no strength to feel like I'm going to live out this call. I have this burden to do something, but I don't have the strength to do it. So this is, I think, such a critical conversation. One of the things in the project that we're working on, that we're writing together, and we're very excited about that, is I've heard you use the term, and it sounds to me like it's your core conviction, that we need to reframe the terms that are the word stewardship. We need to get a new understanding of stewardship versus skinny. Help me understand, what is the difference between chasing skinny and stewarding your body? What do
Yes.
you mean by that?
So good. And I'll comment on what you said too, that I don't think anybody's lazy. I don't think that anybody wakes up and intentionally says, today I'm going to be lazy. Today I'm going to mistreat my body. Today I'm going to make all the wrong choices. I don't think anybody wakes up intentionally saying that. It just happens along the way that we don't make choices. But again, that's that uninformed. But I don't think anybody's lazy when it comes to those things. They
But I
want to
do feel
steward.
lazy when you said, like, there were days you had that little fit you didn't wanna do. Our self-talk
Yeah.
says, "You are so
Yeah.
lazy. This is 5 minutes. What's wrong with you, girl?"
Yeah. Get in there and do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do have to have you gotta kinda, like, kick yourself a little bit every
Yeah.
now and then, but I have to kick myself to wash my hair too, and I don't wanna get too far off the question that you asked me, but I use that analogy a lot, like, I have to kick myself to wash my hair, I'm just gonna be real honest about it, and I have 2 daughters, and I've unfortunately passed that trait on to them because when it's hair wash night, the whole house is groaning, right? One thing I would ask everybody to do is start to look at your health and your stewardship the way that you do look at those things, right? So if it's washing your hair, if it's doing the dishes, unloading the dishwasher, putting gas in your car, these are things that we don't like jump up and down for the most part and say like, hooray, today I get to stop and put gas in the car, right? Like I can't wait to do that. We don't get excited about it, but we do that. Why do we do that? Because we don't want our car to break down, because we want the luxury of not being stranded on the side of the road when we're in a rush. So why do we do these things? Because it's what we need to do to take care of what blessings God has given us. He's given us dishwashers. He's given us children's hair to wash, and it takes a mindset reframe to think about that. But when we think about health and nutrition, we think about that on a scale of good to bad. Well, I'm either a good person or I'm a bad person. I didn't work out today, so I'm a bad person. And we don't take the time to look at caring for our body, caring for our temple as I may not love this all the time. We feel like if we say, well, I don't love working out, then I'm a lazy, horrible person who's not meeting expectations. Well, I don't love to wash my hair, but that doesn't mean I'm a horrible person that's not meeting hygiene expectations, right? So
Right.
when you can start to say, like, it's okay that you may not absolutely love eating fruits and vegetables, sometimes. You may not love working out sometimes. It's okay that you might not absolutely just be head over heels about it, but you do it because it's godly stewardship, because it's caring for the temple that God's given you so that you can fulfill the calling that God's asked you to do. And so when we can start to compare other things that we do in our life that we don't jump up and down for, that we don't get super excited about, and say, my health might be the same way, but I'm not putting gas in my car every day. I'm not washing my hair every day. I'm doing that a couple times a week. The same thing with your health. I'm working out a couple times a week. I'm eating fruits and vegetables some meals of the week, right? And that's where it comes into, I'm not idolizing my body. I'm not chasing skinny. I'm not running after the latest fads and making health an idol. I'm caring for it. And some days I'm going to care for it more than others. Some days I'm going to wash my hair, blow dry it, and roll it because we're getting all the way in today, and your
Right.
health may be the same way. One day I may do 2 hours of meal prep because that's the day that I'm really devoting into my stewardship, because we want our vessel, the car, the body, to be able to do what we've been called to do. And that's the difference between
Yeah.
skinny and stewardship. And it takes a mindset reframe to start thinking about those things. But if you can allow yourself to, and I know this sounds crazy, but if you can allow yourself to almost be okay with not loving it, but saying, I'm doing this because it's going to help me in the long run, it puts your mind at ease a little bit from that gauge of all or nothing mindset.
Yeah, just kind of being at peace. I don't love it, but I want it.
Exactly.
I want it in my life because there's a good reason for wanting it. So health, I think, is really what we're saying. This is not a vanity issue.
Mm-mm.
There's a real purpose in doing these kind of things. Now, I do want to talk about something. Uh, Liv, you said you told your doctor, I don't sweat. I just don't. I'm not going to.
Want
And
to.
then your first exercise workout was laying on the floor and breathing. So, how have you progressed from laying on the floor and breathing, and unwilling to sweat? I do a lot of research because of my field of counseling, and there's a lot of research on that mind body connection,
Mm-hmm.
and talks about, the power of going for walks and how it can, really lift you up out of feeling that sense of depressed. It'll lift you up. So, what do you think about exercise now? I mean, it's been a few years. Where are you in the exercise arena now? And here we are, all these busy women. I don't know. Laying on the floor breathing sounds like a great workout to me.
Fantastic.
I'm
Sounds
for it. I'm all
fantastic.
in.
I'm all in. Okay, so let's think about this before we get into exercise and exactly what I did. I want you to think of like a dial, like an old school thermostat dial. All right. So everybody kind of get that in their head, the old school, and you turned it and you crank it up to a 10, go in one direction, turn it counterclockwise, you're down at 0, right? When you think of your fitness, I want you to think of it as a dial. So when I started, I was at 0, not sweating at all. And then I put it maybe to a 1 doing the 5-minute video. What the 5-minute video did is it started to create systems. So we get into this place of, I don't have any willpower. I don't have any willpower to get anything done. And those, negative things that we teach ourselves over time. So it created a habit and a system. Every day when I got home from work, before I did anything else, I walked into that bedroom and did that video. So then from there, I did that for a solid probably 60 days. I did not rush that, but I was seeing some changes in my energy because I'd also changed what I was taking for lunch every day. So it was like I started seeing these small changes, but I made myself stay at that 1 for about 60 days doing that video. Then I started doing a walk at home video that you can do on YouTube, or you can get the DVD. And I started doing a 1-mile walk at home video. So then I replaced coming home and laying on the floor with breathing, coming home and doing a 1-mile walking video. So I started walking inside. That was the first thing I did. I didn't want to sweat. I'm not walking outside. You sweat outside. I'm not doing it, but I started walking inside. Then I started seeing more changes in my energy. I started seeing more changes in my body composition, and it's okay to want to feel better in your clothes. That's not
Right.
a
There's no
vanity thing.
sin, right.
There's no sin in wanting to feel better in your clothes. And a lot of people say, well, if you talk about fat loss over stewardship, then you're, getting into the vanity. You can have fat loss and still steward your body. And you should,
Absolutely.
because we don't want heart disease. That's not stewarding your body. So it's okay. So my clothes started fitting looser. I started feeling better. I noticed I had more energy. So I just incorporated walking, and I walked. It took me 2 years to lose the 150 pounds. So my dial started going up a little bit. We're going back to that fitness dial. It started going up. And I started walking outside, started sweating. I started doing walking videos, but I walked for the first year. I never picked up weights. I never did anything more than just walking. And I would walk indoors with videos. If I went to the copier at work, I would walk the long way around the floor. I would walk and set little goals for myself. This was a big one. I had a pedometer. We didn't even wear Apple watches and things like that at the time.
Yeah.
I put a pedometer on my skirt, and it would go green when I hit 3,500 steps. So I started playing a game with myself. How soon can I hit 3,500 steps? And so I wanted to hit it by 10 o'clock in the morning. And so it was like these little games and systems that I set up with myself. And that fitness dial started turning up more and more, but it was a gradual turn up to then where I'm lifting weights, doing CrossFit, those types of things. But it took time to build up to that space.
And we shouldn't pressure ourselves to do more or be more than what we can do in the moment. But
Yeah.
you know what? But walking or whatever move you have in your life, it is for heart health. It is for mobility, you know, just the stretching and the moving and the getting up and not just sitting all the time. As we're aging, mobility issues, or even, my niece was a young woman, but she had some hospital stays because of liver failure. And just a few days in a hospital bed, and you almost have to go into physical therapy to get moving again. So it's so important. We can combine several of our domains. We can do so many things to make it benefit multiple areas of our life. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I think for, that working mom or the busy professional, I love how you brought that in at work. Take the stairs instead of the elevator kind of moments,
Yeah.
those things are listening. So we're incorporating that.
I want to talk real quick about the working moms or the church
Mhm.
planners who also are working secular jobs. And it's like, Liv, that sounds so precious, but I have no time to do anything, right?
Good. Let's talk about
And
it.
so that's real life. And so I don't want to come over here and Pollyanna this for you guys. My desire in Jesus' name is that you can take some of these tools and apply them to your life and what you're doing. So when I had both of my girls, I ended up having both of the girls, and I would try to figure out ways to walk. You don't want to wake up a newborn. That's the last thing that you want to do
Right.
is wake up a newborn, right?
Right.
And that sleep is precious. And I still do this to this day. But let's go back to that fitness dial. So I was at a 10 because that was just me and my husband. Was living fun and fancy free with my time. And
Mhm.
then I had to pull the fitness dial back a little bit when they were newborns. And we have an island in our house. And I listen to just like you said, praise and worship, prayer walk. I've listened to praise and worship music, and I still do this now. And I walk laps around my island in my pajamas. I'm not
Mhm.
wearing fitness gear. I'm not doing all of these things that, I can't leave the house because they're infants. So
Mhm.
find things like that. If you're having your prayer time, pray and walk around your island. When they got a little bit older, I took them and I put them in the bathtub because, again, as a young parent knows, like that's like sacred time if you can get them to play in the tub together.
Mhm.
And I would do squats, push-ups off the counter, sit-ups
Mhm.
in the floor in that bath time while they were in there playing. I was right beside them so I could see them. So it's not always going to look like you need to look at your life and ask the Lord, Lord, show me where I have some pockets of time that I can get in a 5-minute walk. Can I get to my church 5 minutes before prayer meeting and take 3 or 4 laps around the sanctuary before I kick off prayer? When we're doing outreach, can I get there 5 minutes early and walk around the church building in the sunshine 2 times to get something in? It doesn't have to be the 10 on the fitness dial. If you can just
Right.
do something and start that, your mood will improve and God will help you. And I know we're not going to go into a lot of that here, but I asked God through my journey, Lord, show me, help me, guide me. And He did. Now, I have to work, and I felt God impress upon me, you have to take a step physically, and I will take
Mhm.
a step as well. So He's going to help you, but you've got to ask Him and you've got to be willing. But don't go to that 10 on that fitness style. If it's squats in the bathtub or I'm being a little transparent here, but if you are going to the bathroom, when you get up from going to the bathroom before you wash your hands, do 10 squats. I mean,
Mhm.
don't overcomplicate it, but there's
Right.
opportunities and don't feel like you're left out of the game because if God's called you to church plant, He's got something for you to do, but that doesn't mean that you have to neglect yourself in the process.
I think that's so good because I do think sometimes we create these plans that are like they look so doable on paper, but they don't fit into the existing life that we have.
Mhm.
It's something I'd have to do in addition to. And
Right.
in a busy life, especially, I mean, I don't have young children at home now, but watching my children parenting, there's not a spare second,
Mm-mm.
so they are having to weave everything into what is already existing. So absolutely. So here's another thing we need to talk about. I love the fact that you said you swapped out eating out at lunch. You started taking your lunch. Well,
Mhm.
that saves money.
Yes.
And now all of a sudden you're eating healthier. So let's talk about how do we feed a family while we're trying to eat healthier? How do we when we are so used to driving through McDonald's because we're on our
Yeah.
way to church. So let's talk about real life and healthy eating.
Absolutely. So that swap that I made for lunch, first starting out, I took a freezer warm-up meal, a healthy choice and a lean cuisine. So again, this was not burn the refrigerator down to the ground, go to Whole Foods, spend $300 on revamping the refrigerator. It was, I'm not going to go through the drive-through. I'm going to eat a lean cuisine and those kudos bars. For those of you that might remember, they had kudos bars. Um, and I would eat one of those. And so that's the change. So again, simple. Start with simple. You don't want to get to no carbs, but maybe you want to clean it up over time,
Mhm.
but you are going to make a significant cleanup in your diet and vegetable intake and cholesterol wise, sodium wise by switching from fast food to a lean cuisine, healthy choice warm up meal. So, again, if it feels overwhelming, start there. You'll build on that because you'll build over time. That's the first thing. The same with breakfast. If you're not a breakfast eater, but you find yourself in the cabinets late at night, I don't want to eat breakfast. And so I'm starting off today good, air quotes. So I don't eat breakfast. I eat a pack of crackers for lunch, and then a little nibble of this or that. And then for dinner, I eat a good dinner. I'm putting in air quotes, but then at
Mhm.
9 o'clock at night, I'm in the cabinets, chips, ice cream, Oreos, whatever it is. And then I've ruined today. I started out so good because I wasn't eating breakfast. I was starting out so good and I barely ate lunch. I had dinner and now I can't stay out of the cabinets at night. And now I'm going to bed and I feel like such a failure and I feel so bad because I've raided the cabinet and I go to bed and I wake up the next day and today's going to be a good day. I'm going to do really good today. And you keep repeating that cycle. All right. Just try to have something for breakfast in the morning because as the day goes on, your hunger is catching up with you. So that's why you're in the cabinets at night, not because you lack willpower, not because you're a horrible person. It's likely because your body has said, "Hey, I'm hungry." And when you're hungry at night, you don't want to make a meal. You already had a meal, so you're not going to eat another one, but that hunger is trying to catch up with you. So try breakfast, but if you're, opposed to breakfast, drink a protein shake. Just get something in the system. So protein shake for breakfast, an apple midday, a lean cuisine for lunch, and then I'll give you some dinner ideas. So doing some things like that are not heavy lifting ways to start making some changes, but they will make a huge impact on the way that you feel and the overall calories that you're consuming.
So
Dinner.
you
Yeah,
had
go ahead.
talked about being an emotional eater.
Mhm.
Let's move into that because you're talking about okay, late at night, kids are in bed or we're exhausted. We've been at the church working,
Yes.
whatever the story. Then hubby goes to bed, but I need to reward myself now because I've had such a great day for Jesus. I've worked so hard for my family. So let's talk about
Yeah.
food as reward,
Mhm.
food as comfort. What's driving those late night binges? Because most of the time it's probably not real hunger.
Right. Sometimes it's not real hunger. I agree with you. So when I would have a lot of my emotional eating, it wasn't that nighttime meal. But I also think everybody was going to bed a lot earlier because we didn't have smartphones, so we just went to bed. Um, so instead of staying up, but at that point, I would always eat what I called like first dinner. So between the time that I would get home from work and when we would have dinner, me and my husband, I would always eat almost like a dinner in between there, like a full meal, and then I would eat my dinner because I was so hungry. Well, I wasn't so hungry. I was emotionally exhausted from the day. So my day, I worked a corporate job at the time, so it ended at 5 o'clock. So it was stress from the corporate day. I'd come home at 5. I would eat almost a first dinner and then eat second dinner with my husband at 7. So for me, what I realized was that that is what I like to call my witching hour. That was when things really went off the rails for me. So I went into a prayer closet because I realized that it was habit. And so between the hours of 5 and 6 in early in my journey, I went into a prayer closet and I shut the door and sometimes I would pray. Sometimes I'd sit there. Sometimes I would study the word. Sometimes I'd pout and I would just say,
I love it.
I want to eat right now, but I know I'm not
Yeah.
hungry and I'm trying to break some cycles that go along with that. And I asked the Lord to help me with that. So that's what helped me break that cycle was me acknowledging it, me bringing it to the Lord, but then also me not sitting there in the kitchen looking at the counter while I'm trying to go through that, going into the prayer
Mhm.
closet.
You
Um,
didn't take the Oreos into the prayer closet with
I
you.
did not. I did not. I took a lot of like folding my arms and why is this so hard?
Why is it so hard?
Why, Lord, why? And he says, because 17 years later, you're going to help a lot of people.
That's it.
But okay, so let's talk a little bit about the nighttime eating because this is really important. Food is more than fuel. Food is community. Food can be comfort within reason. You can use food to have a good time, but you got to have some emotional boundaries on that. And that's not necessarily my wheelhouse as much as it is yours to talk about some of those patterns. What I advise clients to do is that they can reserve something to purposefully have during that time. I used to do this thing and it was a protein shake. And I know you guys were like, oh, good grief, like rolling your eyes, like, is that protein shake left? Come on. But it was like a protein shake and I made it really big, like a frosty. So it was like
Mhm.
ice creamy. And then I would put a serving of Lucky Charms over that. And the dead minute my 2 precious angel babies got into bed, I was whirling up that Frosty, with those Lucky Charms because, again, I had mommed to the best that day, and I needed that reward. But I had planned for that reward, and I knew that I was going to have it, what it was, and I didn't have guilt or shame over that because I already gave myself permission to have it earlier in the day, and I already knew what it was going to be, and so it was like, gave myself the thumbs up, let's have this. Now, you can pick whatever you want that to be for yourself, but that does help. But that seems to help because you've given yourself the permission and you've also got some boundaries around it. So, less permission of like, I can have something tonight because that something can get real vague depending on your stress and your tiredness versus I'm going to give myself this tonight. I'm going to enjoy it.
Right. Yeah, it's not a quart of milkshake from somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
That's all we can think about is what we can't do, what we can't have,
Think
and
of a
we just get
child.
so focused on that instead of thinking of all the other benefits and all the other good things we do have in our life. So, you have two daughters, busy life, busy family. How do you incorporate your lifestyle into if you're cooking, does everybody eat the same? Do you prep meals on Sunday afternoon? So you're busy working woman, you have your nutrition coaching and seminars and speaking and teaching and all that you do. So what is life like in your household all week around food and
Yeah.
preparing it?
So we all eat the same thing. This is a good question. And then my children, because I am a nutritionist, anytime I want them to eat a vegetable, they roll their eyes and they say, it's only because you're a nutritionist that you want us to eat these vegetables. And I'm like, every mom wants their child to eat
Right.
vegetables. sweet babies. So, they don't. So if you think that my children automatically eat these vegetables and we live in lollipop land, we do not. Well, we might live in lollipop land. They want to eat the lollipops, but, so no. So I have to do the same things that many of you all are doing with like trying to get them to eat something. We keep our meals really simple. I do have a website which has recipes on it, livehillnutrition.net. We try to stick to 5 ingredients or less. That helps with budget and that helps make an easy meal. So, for example, last night we had beef. So, we just took some hamburger meat, ground that up, browned it up. We did a rice pack, a 90-second, put it in the microwave with rice, 90 seconds, some cauliflower rice. That's stepping out there a little bit, but if you mix cauliflower rice and regular, it's hard to tell the difference. I made some peas, frozen peas, put those in the microwave. So we're microwaving the rice, the cauliflower rice, and the peas. We're microwaving that while we brown the meat, put it all together, and some teriyaki sauce over it. So you've got, you could do broccoli instead of peas. We had peas, but you've got an easy beef and broccoli. And the only cooking that you've done is brown the meat. And so
Okay.
that's come together, 5 ingredients in less than 10 minutes. So it's a lot of those types of meals. Again, the same thing, 90-second rice, ground the beef or use chicken, some black beans, salsa, boom, you've got a bowl that way. So you can do a lot with 5 ingredients. The biggest helper is having protein cooked ahead of time. If you can brown up some beef, get some rotisserie chicken, maybe cook some chicken thighs. If you're able to get some beef or protein cooked ahead of time, that's the lifesaver. Because if you think about coming home from like a crazy church event or a big long day, and you think, I've got to cube some chicken, just the thought of cubing chicken. I mean, I'm 17 years into this, but I just don't want to always cube chicken at
I
7
just don't
o'clock at
want
night.
to. I don't.
I mean, it's like you got to wash the knife, clean it up. It's just the thing. But a lot of times I'll spend an hour max just getting my protein ready, because then if we're going to have spaghetti after a big night, all I have to do is boil the protein pasta, which is great, Barilla protein pasta. All I have to do is boil that. My meat's cooked, add it together, put some sauce in it, and you can get dinner done really, really quick. So that's the biggest key, is if you can get some protein cooked ahead of time, then that will help you throw your meals together so much quicker.
And maybe planning.
For
Now,
sure.
someone told me, maybe it was you, that you eat the same breakfast almost every morning. Were you
I
the one who
do.
said that? Getting away from the idea that we have to have all these big meal planning. Let me put that on a rotation system.
Absolutely. I use the analogy that when you go to McDonald's, and I don't really eat McDonald's anymore because I'm so clean and pure. Not really. I just don't eat McDonald's anymore.
Well,
But
it sounded good, Liv. It
I
sounded
know.
good.
But I can tell you from 17 years ago, my order was the number 2 meal, extra or upsize with a Diet Coke. That's the 2 cheeseburger meal. That's still what it is. If I asked every person listening to this podcast, what do you get when you go to the Mexican restaurant? You're going to tell me you get the exact same thing every time you go. And
Every
then I
time.
ask you, how many times could you eat at that Mexican restaurant if the budget was unlimited and calories didn't matter? You'd say, oh man, I could get in on that cheese sauce 4 nights a week and I'd love it. So what you've just said is that you don't mind to eat the same thing over and over again, and you know exactly what you're going to eat and you enjoy it, right? So when we can translate that to home meals, you know what? If your family loves chicken Alfredo and they will eat that, praise God, if they'll eat something that you
Right.
make, have it a couple of times, have it every single week until they're like, I'm done with that. But reminding yourself that when you hit Starbucks, when you hit the Mexican restaurant, when you get McDonald's and the number 2 upsize with Diet Coke, like you're getting the same things when you go out. You're not getting something off the wall crazy. You're not all of a sudden like, you know what, today I want a Filet-O-Fish, and you've not had one in 16 years. That's just not
It's
really
not
going to happen.
Yeah.
And so the same thing when you're at home. Just kind of let that say like, hey, it's okay to do some of the same things. I don't have to do anything wild and crazy.
Yeah.
And one thing I
Well,
do too that might help people is I always make a bigger dinner, so a bigger batch dinner, the same thing, but like that meal that I just explained to you, the teriyaki meal, my kids took that for lunch today. So they always take our leftovers for lunch the next day. So then that takes more work off of me. And so if your kids do something different, you can use that. So if you don't want to meal prep, but you want to start taking your lunch, bam, you're
Mhm.
just making that dinner, doyle out a little bit extra for you in a meal prep container, which will make you feel very fancy putting in a meal prep container, and then you're ready to go. And I'm not dissing on making out full meals or doing a whole meal prep, but I'm really talking to the folks that are like, I don't even know where to start because I feel so overwhelmed. You'll see me on Instagram doing meal prepping and things like that. And there's a time and a place for practical and optimal, just like there is, again, with the dial with your Bible study. There's some times when it's a like, thank you, Jesus, keep your hand on me today, and we're rolling. And then there's other times where you're like, I'm sitting down with the Word of God today, and we are really getting down to business, right? And it's an ebb and flow throughout the week, or maybe a month or two goes and you go one direction than the other, but it's an ebb and flow. And when you allow your nutrition and your health, looking at it from stewardship, to have some ebb and flow in there, you'll get a lot further along the way.
Consistency should be the goal, but
Mm-hmm.
not I have to walk an hour every day, but consistency is every day for some amount of time, I'm going to walk. I'm going to pray every day. Well,
Yeah.
I may not get up at 4 in the morning and pray till 7, but every day I'm going to talk to God. I'm going
Amen.
to incorporate the word, into my life. So we're not looking for perfection or extremes. Consistency is just saying, these are my priorities. These are my life priorities. And somehow I am going to every day touch these priorities and make sure they're active in my life. And that's
Absolutely.
so doable. We can live with that. Now, I want to bring up something. I always like to talk about accountability and creating a
Mhm.
network of support, finding a mentor. Um,
So we do one-on-one coaching. So we have 8 coaches on our staff. We're all apostolic, and we coach people one-on-one. So we're holding your hand through this thing. And so we're a mentor to each person that we're coaching with. And we will talk to them, what's your week look like? How many steps have you gotten today? We do accountability check-ins on them. And accountability is huge. It's also okay to ask for help. And I see that's where a lot of people are resistant because they feel like I should be able to do this on my own. I shouldn't need the help. I know what to do. I just won't do it. But again, if you need help, it's okay to ask for help. It doesn't mean that you're
right.
weak. It actually means that you're wise to ask for counsel. You can seek counsel through our coaching or through a friend relationship that you trust. If you look at a lot of people in sports and athletes, they have coaches. A
Mhm.
lot of our athletes and Olympians and things like that have multiple coaches, and they're the best in the world at what they do. And they might have 5 or 6 coaches. So having somebody who's going to speak into your life, help you with the goals that are important to you, makes all the difference in the world because they're going to hear what you're saying and help you form things around what's most important to you. So that's accountability is so much different than following just a random diet plan because a random diet plan isn't what's going to work for you. Your goals may say, hey, for accountability, I want you to make sure that I'm walking 5,000 steps every day and that I'm having a protein shake for breakfast. And if you are in coaching with, our coaching group and you want to just have a friend do that, ask them, hold me accountable to these 2 things, not was I good today? How good you do today? You know, Get
Be
real specific.
specific. Yeah.
Mhm. And I like to follow the 2 by 2 rule. This is really helpful. 2 by 2 rule is don't miss 2 in a row. So if your goal is to get protein shaken every morning, you get it one morning, you miss the next, don't miss it again. Don't miss something 2 things in a row. And you can apply this spiritually or physically. Don't miss your Bible reading 2 days in a row. Don't
Right.
miss your prayer time 2 days in a row. Don't miss your protein shake. Don't miss your walk. So that allows you to give yourself grace just a little bit because it's always finding that line between like grace and like, I just ain't gonna do it. So like,
Giving up. Grace
yeah,
or
just
giving
giving
up.
up. Yeah. So try the 2 by 2 rule. And if you have an accountability partner, say, okay, we're going to 2 by 2 with each other. And that allows your accountability partner to say, instead of chastising you or like they don't know how to guide you because they're just a friend, hey, let's develop the 2 by 2 rule with each other and let's pick 2 goals that we each want to meet.
I really like that. We're almost out of time. I had really wanted to get into talking about the survey you have going on right now. So we don't have a lot of time, but can you just give us a brief like introduction into what's going on your website?
Absolutely. So if you've heard this and you're like, man, this is life changing, God has dropped this into my lap, I love everything that I'm hearing. And then you take the AirPods out, and then you've got an emergency and a child screaming, and somebody needs you at the hospital, and then it's out the other ear, right? What I want you to do is you can go to my website, which is livehillnutrition.net. There's a survey that takes 2.5 to 3 minutes to complete. It's going to show you where you need to start. So as soon as you take the survey, it'll give you an immediate result, and then you'll get some information that'll start coming through like little mini podcasts, little action items that you can take, so that's the first step that you can do to get some clarity about what you want to accomplish. Maybe you don't know what your 2 is. You're like, Liv, I got like 10, sister. Like 2 ain't gonna get it. I need 10. I need 12. And we love to go 10 and 12s. But if you want to narrow it down to these two, like I want 2 things that I want to focus on, taking that survey will give you some clarity, and it will show you, okay, this is where we're going to start. This is what's going to be best. And this is how you want to make those things happen.
I love it. Thank you. You can find her on Facebook, Olivia Hill, I believe, on Facebook.
Yes, ma'am.
She said livehillnutrition.net. Go there. I know that you have a podcast I hope that people will begin listening to. I know that you teach seminars in churches, but also over Zoom. So just so many options, because when we're talking about creating a network of support, make it your friends, make it apostolic resources, people who know the power of prayer, who can say to you, you know what, if that hour is your worst hour, you go spend that in the presence of the Lord. Take that craving, whether it's a craving for love or a craving for an Oreo, you take that craving into the presence of God and let Him do the work in you, do the healing. Before we go, let's take a moment and we're going to reflect. What is one thing that you heard today that you're taking with you into this week? I want you just to kind of settle that in your heart. We're on this journey of health together. We're going to walk this together. I'd love to hear from you if you want to contact us. And if this conversation has been an encouragement to you, we hope you'll share it with someone on their own health journey. Thank you for joining today. Let's talk. And until next time, God bless. And Liv, thank you so much. It was amazing spending time with you. God
Thanks.
bless.
God bless.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.